Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Azulam here. Thank you so much for coming around, and this is me wishing all of you a happy new year. To all my returning subscribers, thank you so much for the love and support, and for those that are yet to subscribe, kindly subscribe to my channel. So for today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a 3-tier ball gown for a year-old baby girl. So this is an updated version, so if you're interested, keep on watching. Using for this project, this is what I'll use for the upper part. This is the satin, the lining, and the net itself. I also have my hard net. Okay, and the beginner class will be starting up ending of this month. So if you're interested in joining us, kindly check this description box. There you will get the number to reach out to get more information on how to go about that. So as usual, I will be starting with the upper part. I'll start by drafting out or marking out the bodice length. So for this, the bodice length is 7 inches plus 1 inch for my seam. That is 8 inches. So I'm going to mark that out on a straight line. So this is 8 inches here, as you can see. So the next thing to do is the shoulder. The shoulder is 8 inches. Half of that, because my paper is on fold, is 4. So here is 4. Okay, and the neck width, I'll be using 2 inches for that. Okay, and the neck depth, I'll also use 2 inches as well, which is this point here. So I'm going to connect. Okay, so this point here, I'll come down by ½ inch. After that, I will now connect it to this point. So this is ½ inch, which is the shoulder slope. So I'll just connect that to this point. So the next thing to do now is the armhole. Now to determine the armhole, you can easily use the same measurement you use for the shoulder measurement. This is really optional for me. It really works for me. So the shoulder measurement is, remember we used 4 inches. So now because here already I came down by half, so I'll add 3.5, making it 4 inches from this shoulder line. So this is 3.5 there. Okay, so I will also mark out the shoulder measurement here. Then I'll connect that line to this point. After connecting, I will now determine the midpoint. Okay, so this is 3.5. I will just fold my tape like this. Okay, instead of stressing your head, and just fold. That point now is the midpoint, which is here. So I'll come in by 3/4 inch, and that is this point. So the chest measurement is 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Okay, plus 1 inch for my seam, which is here. I'll be using the same thing on the waist. Okay, so this is 6. So I'll just connect that. That is just how easy and simple it is to draft a simple. This is the front pattern, so I'm going to use my French cuff to connect this. Okay, if you don't have this, you can easily use your hand to trace it. So now I will show you how to cut the back part. So now I'll just cut this off. I'm going to mark out 8 inches, which is what I use for the front. So this is 8 inches, which is the bodice length. Then I'll connect that to a straight line. After that, I will now mark out my 1 inch for my zipper from this point. So this is 1 inch. I'm going to mark that out. Okay, and then connect to a straight line. Okay, so this is my zipper allowance. So now I'm going to insert the shoulder measurement from this point, which is 4, that is 8 divided by 2. So that is the point there. I will now come down by half. This is exactly what I did on the front. So remember, I used 2 inches as the neck width, but I'll be using ½ inch for the neck depth. Okay, so this is ½ inch there. I'm going to connect that. Okay, remember it's an open back, so I have to use half. Okay, so I'll connect this point now to this point. Okay, so remember we used 3½ as the armhole, so this is 3½ here. I will also insert the shoulder measurement, then I'll connect. I'm repeating what I did on the front pattern because I want the shape of the back, that is the armhole area, to be the same with the front. So now this is the chest measurement, that is 20 divided by 4, and that is 5. This is 5 plus 1 inch for my seam. So I will repeat the same on the waist area. Okay, then I'll connect. Okay, so here now remember how to determine the midpoint is just to fold your tape. That is the easy way. Okay, so this is the midpoint there. Remember the front side I used 3/4, which is here. So I'm going to connect. After connecting now, this is where I'll be altering it because of the opening at the back. But before that, here I'll come up by ½ inch. Okay, then I will just connect it straight to this point like this. I am using this armhole curve to make it easier for me. Okay, so this is how it looks. This is the shape. Why I did this, so that at the end of the day the front will not be, either the front or back will not be longer than the other. Okay, so now here now you determine how deep or wide you want the opening to be. For me, I don't want it that too deep because it's for a little baby. So I'll come down from this point. I'll come down by 2¼ inch, which is here. Okay, and here I'll make the opening 2 inches. Very okay for me. So this is the point. Okay, so let me just make it to a straight line so that you understand. This is where the circle or any shape, you can decide to give it any shape of your choice, will be. Okay, like I said, I'll just use my free hand and do this because I want it very small. Okay, so I'll just give it this small circle shape at the back. So this is just how to go about that. So now the next thing to do, I will now cut it out and cut them on the main fabric. After cutting it out, this is the lining that I'll be using for the upper part. and this is it. So now for the down part, I'll be using this 1 yard of satin here, and I'm going to fold it in a half circle. This is 1 yard, as you can see. This is 36 inches. So I'm going to fold the same way you fold your fabric when making a half circle dress. Okay, so I just folded this into 2. Then I'm going to bring this one this way. As you can see, it's very easy and simple to fold. So here, as you can see, it's already looking like a triangle. So after folding it like this, remember the waist measurement is 20 inches. So I'm going to divide that. So I'm going to divide that by 3.14. So that will give me 6 inches from the waist. I'm going to mark from this point here, I'm going to mark out 6 inches. So this is 6 inches here. Okay, I'm going to mark it all to this other end, and I'll connect that. Okay, so this is it. Remember, I didn't add 1 inch for seam. Okay, I just used the exact waist measurement. So now to confirm what I have, this is it. As you can see, this is 5, making it 20, because when I cut it will be, it's already into 4, as you can see. So now this is exactly 20 inches. So when cutting, I will just come down a bit because of the seam allowance, or better say, you can just divide, you can just make it 21 inches, adding 1 inch for the seam. Then you now divide by 3.14, whatever it gives you, that is what you're going to mark from this point to this point. Okay, so this is where, as you can see, it's just a little that I added. So now for the length, I'll be using 12 inches on the dot. By the time I sew, I'll end up having 11 inches. Okay, so this is 12 inches. I'm going to mark that to the other end. After marking it out, I will now cut. Okay, so this is it. As you can see, this is the little that I added because of my seam, and this is the 12 inches, as you can see. So now I will just cut it out. This is what I have. So this is what I'll be working with. So I'm going to open it up. So I'll just open it up now. This is the shape. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over this way. Now remember, we are making a 3-tier ball dress. So now, since it's a 3-tier, I'm going to divide the length by that 3. Here I have 12 inches. Okay, this is 12 inches. So 12 inches divided by 3, it will give me 4. Okay, that is 4 each. So I'm going to mark that for starting from this point. Okay, so I'm going to mark this 4 down to the other end. See, I just marked that out to the other end. This is the 4 inches. Remember, I divided the 12 inches by 3 because we're making a 3-tier dress. So I'm going to mark out the same 4. It should be 4 from this point, 4, 4 like that into 3 places. So now this is the second one, this is 4 here, and this last one also is 4, as you can see. So I'm going to mark the same way I did this. I'm going to mark it to the other end before we start cutting the net. This is how it looks. So before this, I'm going to join the shoulders of this upper part first, and then I'll close up the armhole before we continue. Upper part, as you can see, I just closed it up on the shoulder, and I did the same on the lining. So I'm going to open it up and use the lining to place it over like this, making sure that the front is facing each other. This is the front, this is the front. So I will start by sewing the neckline. Okay, I'm going to start from this point and sew it all the way down to the other end. After that, I'm going to close this up. Okay, I'm going to sew like this. Okay, and I will stop somewhere here, leaving ½ inch for my zipper, leaving 1 inch for my zipper allowance here. So I'm going to repeat the same on this other side. So this is it. As you can see, I just sewed the neckline and I top stitch. I closed up this place and the armhole. All I did was to give it a notch here and there. So now I'm going to turn it over and give it a good press. After that, I'll now show you how to make the down part. After giving it a good press, this is what I have. As you can see, it's already looking beautiful. So now for the down part, remember, this is what we'll be working with. As you can see, I just marked those points out. So now I will start with the first layer. So for the first layer, here is 4. I'm going to make it 4.5 because half will be for my seam. So I'm going to cut out, that is for the first layer, I'm going to cut out 4.5 inches from my net. Here is 4 yards already, so I just folded it together. Then I will just cut out 4.5 yards from the net, after which I will now gather it and sew on this first layer. Four and a half, as you can see, I cut out 2 pieces. So I'm going to place the 2 of them together, and then I'll use my gather stitch and sew it, after which I'll now gather. So guys, as you can see, I just sewed the first tier. All I did was just to gather this and place it on that first line that I marked and sew. So now this next thing to do is this second line. Remember, I mark out is a 3-tier. One will be on the waist here and the last one. So now I'm going to use my tape and check where I would like the second layer to end. Okay, so for this I'll be using 6 inches. This is where I want it because half will be for my seam. So this is where I want the second one, the second layer to be. This is really optional. You can decide how you want yours to be, but for this is how I normally do mine when I am making a 3-tier dress with this particular method. There are different ways of going about this. So I'm going to mark out that 6 inches on the net, and then I'll cut. Remember, the first layer I doubled. I'm going to do the same on this second layer. So I will mark out 6 inches into 2, that is 12. Then I will also place it together and then gather it and sew on that second line. like after joining the second layer, as you can see. So I'm going to cut out the same 6 inches, but this time I'll be cutting it into 4 places. As you can see, this first layer I used just 2, this second one I used 3, so this last one I'll be using 4 pieces of that 6 inches. So I'm going to cut that out, then I will gather as well and then join it exactly on the waist area. Joining the third layer, this is how it looks. Okay, as you can see, it's already looking beautiful. If you want this other side to be very thick, all you have to do is to make it 4 pieces, same way I did this side. You can make it 4 pieces so that it will be very full. I don't have enough net for that, so for the sake of this tutorial I'll just leave it this way. So now I'm going to cut out the lining where I'll be fixing in the hard net. So this is my lining. Here I have 1 yard. This is cotton lining. So I'm going to fold the same way I folded the satin. That is in a triangle way. I'm going to fold it like that, and I'm going to use the same measurement to mark it out. So as you can see, I just folded it like that. Remember, I used 6 inches for the satin. So I'm going to use the same on the lining. So mark out the 6 inches from this point. Okay, and I'll connect it to the other end. After that, I'll now mark out the length. For the length of the lining, I'll be making it 1 inch shorter. So the lining will now be 11 inches. By the time I hem the down part, I'll end up having 10 inches. So I'm going to mark out 11 inches down to the other end, and I'll just cut. My lining, as you can see, I just mark out where I'll be fixing in the hard net. So for the hard net, I'll just be using 3 pieces. This is 1 yard. I now folded it over and cut out just 3 because I don't want it to be that much. So, but this is really optional. You can also leave this out and make the dress like that. It will still be okay. But for my own, I want it to stand a little. So here I used 2.5 inch from the waist down. I used 2.5, and the second line I just used 2. So this first line I'll be using just 1 of this, while the second line I'll use these 2. So what I'll do now is to gather this and sew on this. After that, I'll now close up the upper parts. This is how it looks after joining the hard net. As you can see, I made mine is very light. If you want it very thick, you can just make this up to say 6 to 7 pieces. That is your net, your hard net when you're cutting it. But for this, is very okay for me because I don't want it to be too stuffy. So I'm going to give it a notch at the center. Then I will just take the upper part and close it up. So this is the upper part. I will just mark the chest and the waist measurement. I'm going to do the marking on this particular one. That is the front side. So the chest measurement is 20 inches, so that will be 10. So this is 10 here. I'll just mark. When you're marking, make sure the seam you have here is the same with the other side. So this is the chest measurement. I'll also use the same for the waist. So this is it. Okay, I'm going to mark the same on the lining, which is this. That is the lining for the front. So I'm going to turn it like this and mark the same thing on it. So I'll repeat the same on the waist. Then I'll now connect. So after connecting now, I'll now fold it over like this. Okay, this is how I'll be sewing it. Okay, I'll separate the lining from the main fabric. So this is how I'll sew. I will start from this point, making sure that it's on the same line. I'm going to sew like this. Then I will sew the lining part. I'll also do the same on the other side. After that, I'll now join the down parts of the dress. So as you can see, I've joined it. This is the lining, this is the main fabric. So now I'm going to give this point a notch, that is the center. After that, I'll now join the down part of the dress. So this is the down part. I'll just join it on this upper part, and I'll also join my lining, and then I will show you the final look of the dress. So guys, this is how it looks after joining the down with the upper part. This is the inside. Okay, as you can see, I separated the dress from the lining. So this is how to join it. Okay, and remember the online class will be coming up ending of this month. So if you're interested, kindly check the description box for more details on that. So guys, that is it for today. Please subscribe if you have not, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you get to know anytime I put up a new video. So guys, see you soon.